You have to take risks, she says. Have the courage to try something new, to fail, and to keep going until you find your good points. I love the freedom of being daring, that shock of discovery, the tension, the excitement of working in theater. That's for me. She was an overnight success, but not the way she'd planned it. Washington-born and bred, Dolores Conchita del Rivero trained for the classical ballet, first in her hometown with the great Doris Jones, and later on full scholarship with George Balanchine's School of American Ballet. Then, on an early spring day in 1952, she accompanied a nervous friend on an open audition for the national tour of Jerome Robbins' Call Me Madam. Ballet's loss was theater's gain. She debuted on Broadway as a principal dancer and took the show to every major city in America, beginning with a spectacular homecoming at Washington's National Theater. Guys and Dolls on Broadway was next, quickly followed by a feature role in Can-Can, where she was understudy to the dance legend who would become her mentor, Gwen Verdon. In 1955, Chita sang and danced in her first leading role in the impish off-Broadway production, Ben Bagley's Shoestring Revue. Later that year, she landed her first featured role in a Broadway musical, Fifi in Seventh Heaven. Next came Mr. Wonderful, where her flashy, bold personality was a perfect match for Sammy Davis Jr. In 1957, Chita's life and the world of musical theater changed forever. Jerome Robbins cast her in the role of Anita in West Side Story. After a month-long tryout in Washington, the show opened to raves on Broadway. The notices for Chita's performance were ecstatic. She was witty, mocking, affectionate, angry, all at once. She stopped the show by making it go even faster. Critics called her explosive. During the Broadway run, a backstage romance led to marriage and, the next year, to her most treasured production, her daughter Lisa. Chita next turned her talents to the role of Rose Grant in the exuberant Bye Bye Birdie. Playing opposite an up-and-coming Dick Van Dyke, she captivated Broadway audiences and earned her first Tony nomination. Director Gower Champion raved, "She's a joyous performer. Whether she's being mean or tough, happy or soft, she throws herself into her dancing with great gypsy abandon." After a London tour of Birdie, Chita starred in Zenda with Alfred Drake, followed by Cy Coleman's Sweet Charity, Meredith Wilson's 1491, Kander and Ebb's Zorba, Garson Kanan's Born Yesterday, and the wily, irrepressible Bajur. Bold, cynical, and stylish, Chicago is a musical out to kill, lauded critic Douglas Watt.
Come on, babe, why don't we paint the town?
Back on stage with her great friend Gwen Verdon,
And all that jazz.
Chita pulled out all the stops with her sexy, sassy portrayal of the murderous Velma Kelly.
And all that jazz.
Clive Barnes of the New York Times best summed up Chicago's power. We are given superlative knockin'-in-the-aisles performances by stars who glitter like gold dust all evening. Chita's second Tony nomination followed.
Jazz.
The 1980s brought triumph and tragedy. Bring Back Birdie earned Chita a Tony nomination, but closed after a disappointingly brief run. Merlin, in which she worked with magician Doug Henning, earned yet another Tony nomination. But it was her portrayal of Anna in Kander and Ebb's biting, bittersweet musical The Rink that in 1984 brought Chita her first Tony Award. 1985 found her back on Broadway with Leslie Uggams and Dorothy Loudon in the fast and funny Jerry Herman hit musical Jerry's Girls. Life was good. Then on an April night in 1986, a devastating auto accident left Chita with multiple injuries. Doctors said she would never walk again. She proved them all wrong and in a miraculous 18 months, she was back on stage in the lavish revival tour of Cole Porter's Can Can. The company played in 75 cities around the world. Chita's worthy co-stars for the 2-year tour were none other than the Rockettes. In 1992, she began rehearsals for what would become the triumphant role of her career, Aurora in Kander and Ebb's Kiss of the Spider-Woman. Her riveting, demanding performance drew ovations night after night and brought Chita the Drama Desk Award, the Outer Critics Circle Award, the Astaire Award, and in 1993, her second Tony Award. Said Frank Rich in the New York Times of Chita's extraordinary comeback, "The kicks are still there, as is her sinuous vibrato, and most of all, an air of utter confidence that is the essence of a Broadway dancer's brassy spirit." 40 years of stardom, and she still doesn't think of herself as a star. She's Chita, one of the gang, a member of the team, part of the chorus. "I'm a reflection," she has said, "of everyone who has ever passed through my life, every actor who has ever shared a moment with me on stage, every chorus kid who has ever made me laugh. I really love the theater. Anything can happen in live theater, and it does, and I don't want to miss it."